The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised. Caution. You are now entering the all-consuming realm of Shay's Paranormal Chat, where the things that are better left unsaid are actually said.
Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to Shay's Paranormal Chat. Paranormal podcasting done Shay's way. Tons of fun.
Dude, seriously?
A bit sarcastic.
Hashtag investigator, not hunter.
But always real.
Hashtag data, not evidence.
Don't get your panties in a twist.
Oh my god, really?
This is real, raw conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good evening, everybody. I can't say TGIF because we're not airing this on a Friday, but we can pretend because I am so happy. My next guest I love. Everybody knows that. And it's the one, the only, the amazing Ken Boggle.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, I was so excited.
Me too.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but we planned this for a minute, didn't we? I mean, we were on Instagram kind of hot.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to come on, I'll drop almost anything that, you know.
Oh, you're too good to me. I said that to you in a thing, too. I was like, I love being on your show. You're really nice to me. I don't know why, but you are. It's very nice.
I think you are an amazing soul. I really do. My attraction to you was never the paranormal, although that's awesome, don't get me wrong. It was who you are. And that's the God's honest truth.
Well, I really try hard. I do try. Could you imagine what I'm like if I didn't try hard? Oh, my God.
Me too. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, the world would burn.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yep.
It'd be worse than it is now.
Oh, my God. So true.
We have to laugh about it, don't we? I mean, it's just such a train wreck out there.
If you don't laugh about it, you'll be one of those people that bitch about it on Facebook 50 times a day. So. Let's
not even get started, girl.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about season 2 of Tarot Date with Ken Boggle.
Tarot Date with Ken Boggle.
Go.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about season 2 of Tarot Date with Ken Boggle. I'm stoked. I'm so excited about it. The first season was good. I mean, from like a starting point. Do you know what I mean?
I thought it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, from a get-go. However, the production of it, not so great. Because Elizabeth and Nick, bless them, worked their butts off as hard as they could, but the internet is so unreliable that everything was always buffering. And I remember in season 1, I was sitting in the car for like 2 hours, and Elizabeth and Nick coming out to the car saying, anytime now. It's going to be like, anytime. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be fine. Really, I wasn't. I was totally freaking out. But anyway, season 2, much better. It was all pre-recorded at the Kentucky Castle in Versailles, Kentucky. And it is beautiful. It was wonderful. We have 2 episodes have aired, so we have 7 episodes left, one of which being Grant Wilson's wife, Rihanna.
Nice.
And and then It's phenomenal. In fact, Elizabeth was telling me that it's really doing very, very well on VidiSpace. But eventually, hopefully, it's going to go to Amazon Prime, and people can watch it there, which would be good. And then she said, from there, quote unquote, who knows? And I'm like, wouldn't that be lovely?
That's awesome. Now, when was this recorded? Because there was quite a bit of time in between 1 and 2.
Yeah. So I recorded this. I think I recorded it 3 years ago.
Wow.
But it's not. Everyone keeps telling me it was 2 years ago, but I guess 2020's just felt that long.
It really has. Oh my God.
Crying out loud. Anyway, so I think it was 2 years ago, and what took so long is that Elizabeth Saint, who is the executive producer of this show, she also edited this show by herself. And she was editing everyone's shows by herself and all the programs by herself. So, she's my really good friend, and I didn't want her to feel like she was pressured, although I kept thinking it was something I had done. I was like, oh my gosh, was it my bald spot? Did I sweat too much? Am I just too fat for TV? Like, did I cuss too much? Like, just what did I do to screw the thing up? And then one day, Elizabeth, I wrote her and said, really, what did I do wrong? And she said, nothing, honey. And we're about to release it. And then that went for like a week, and then boom, it happened. So yeah, 2 years, long time, felt like longer. Hopefully season 3, if that happens, would be a lot faster. That'd be cool. But bless Elizabeth, she's done such a great job. I'm not even mad at her.
Well, she's also a busy woman outside of that network. So
yes.
I know. Yeah, I get it. But I'm the same way. That's the other thing. We have the same type of sense of humor, and we have the same, for lack of a better word, self-esteem issue.
Yeah.
Like we're so worried about other people, and we make things easy on other people that sometimes we forget ourselves, or we think, oh, should I have done that? Or what happened? What did I do wrong? Type of deal. So
I think so many people have that. I think a lot of people have that.
We just vocal about it.
Yeah, we're just right.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are vocal about it. They sit and they suffer it and all that. So it's good to have a kindred spirit in that, and the fact that we are at least mindful enough to know it's going down and mindful enough to talk about it. Right. Yeah.
And I don't mind talking about my crazy as long as it helps somebody else out there.
Oh, me too. I'll talk about my craziness in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because people need to hear it. Everybody acts like it's some big secret or some big horrible thing, and really, the crazier you are, the closer we are as friends, I'd imagine.
Yes, exactly. I think so. I really think so.
Yeah.
You took a step back from the paranormal in between these seasons. So, how nervous were you at the reception of this being released now?
I took a lot of time off. I was just really so exhausted, and because everybody has to keep in mind that I had a personal life happening, personal trauma happening, drama and terribleness. But I also had a day job, and I also read for multiple hours every single day. And I was also going to these events. I was also doing things to help my local community and people in my environment. And I was on boards, and I was going to rehearsals of this and the other thing, or trying to plan an event for this or the other thing. And it just was mind-blowing. So, yeah, I took some steps, a huge step back, we'll say that, a massive step. And then the night that it started to, well, actually, no, the whole damn week, I think. The whole damn week that it was premiering, I kept saying to people, and I meant it, it sounded funny, but I meant it 100%. I kept saying, I'm crazier right now than a bag full of cats. Like, I was that nervous. I was that frustrated. I was that scared. Because I haven't seen the show. I watch it live as you won't watch it. That's the first time I see it. So I think I remember what happened.
But we know how memories are, yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, we were sitting there watching season 2, which was mind-blowing. I mean, season 2, episode 2, the one that we just released. Season 2, episode 2 was mind-blowing. And something came out of my mouth that I forgot I even said. And I looked at my partner and was like, oh, snap. Like, that's there. No taking it back now. I totally forgot it was in there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I haven't seen the episode yet. I haven't seen either episode yet. I'm going to.
I love her. You should. Listen.
I will. Trust me.
Don't watch both at the same time unless you have an antidepressant and a Kleenex nearby. Don't do it because they are rough. You gotta go, and when it goes to Amazon and people start binge watching this, it's gonna be a little touch and go for a minute because the emotions are so raw and they're so real and they're so in your face and they're so touching. The emotions they're not like what do you call that, reality TV? They're more like reality.
Yeah, which is why I love the first season. So I can't wait to see it. I've just been super busy. So is there 10 episodes in total?
There are 9 episodes to season 2. I'm not sure how many. If we do a season 3, if everybody watches it and loves it, and we do a season 3, I'm not sure how many. I've already listed 9 because what we do is we sit around and we think like what's going on in the world and what are people really struggling with right now. And we try to go from there. So we try to book people who everybody will see themselves. You know what I mean? Like it's something that if,
you can
if
relate something everybody can relate to. Yeah,
that's the word. I wanted it always to be relatable. So I'm not sure how many we'll do in the future, but season 2 is 9 episodes, and they're fantastic. They're great.
That's awesome. Like I said, I can't wait. You have a great partner. He'll watch for the warning signs, and he'll let you know if he thinks something's up. The trouble really is that as my partner, as my significant other, the role of that is extremely difficult because I am inherently extremely difficult. And sometimes I can come out of the bag without even trying and I can be a vicious, snarling, evil little beast sometimes. Just my mouth will go away with me. So when that happens, I hope that he doesn't have to catch me and call me on it. I hope that I can kind of clear it up myself and recognize it and alter that behavior. But he's very good at saying to me, something's wrong. Because he's an empath as well, and he's intuitive. And he will say something's really wrong, and I get it. What can we do to fix it? And then or he just says, okay, blow up, and just lets me rip a whole, like just to blow the roof off everything. And we have a really good balance that way, I think. He's very strong and steady, and I am like a natural disaster. I'm like a hurricane or a tornado. Like a tornado, I'll hit this house, this one, skip the next 3, and then take out a whole city hall. You know what I mean? I do know what you mean. I always refer to myself as the nicest asshole you'll ever meet.
Okay, right.
Because when I get hurt or scared or upset, my mouth can...
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to watch that because really, it's like I say every Sunday for Coffee with Kim Boggle, we are our brother's keeper, and we need to be better to each other than that. But I will say, back in the day in my marriage, I was a lot worse and had no idea that I was that bad. Now, having gone through all of that and having a partner that illustrates to me and plays back to me kind of where I'm at and what I'm doing and checks in with me, it's made that process of growing beyond that pattern or that behavior or that tendency very easy. He's made the transition really easy, and I hope it continues to improve because I'm doing things now that normally I would have had a diva fit over, and now I'm just like, man, it's going to be okay. I'll suffer it for just a minute, then everything will be wonderful, and thankfully that has been the case thus far.
Sadly, sometimes you go through stuff, and there's no stopping. We all have bad things in our life that happen to us, but it's what you learn from it. Don't let these bad things happen in vain. You learn the lessons, like you're saying. So
yeah, I find that if you don't learn the lesson, you have to continuously repeat what it takes to learn it, and the circumstances of each attempt to learn it get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, it takes a bigger emotional toll on you each time.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip all that, just learn my lesson every single time I can.
Yep.
I'm just going to skip all the BS and do the best I can.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we said when the show airs. It's Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on VidiSpace.
Yeah, so the way this works, which is a really good point to bring up, and I'm sorry that we didn't tell everybody where it was. So Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, they air on VidiSpace. If you're not available at that time, but you have purchased the episode itself, or you will buy the season by itself, or if you have a VidiSpace subscription, you can go back and watch these anytime. So as long as they have aired that Friday night, you can watch them Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever, just absolutely whenever. They're available on demand at vidi.space, which is VIDI.SPACE. And it's available to you. I watch them every Saturday too, just because Friday I'm such a bag of cats. See, there's that expression. Yeah. I'm such a bag of cats on Friday that when I watch them on Saturday, I have a little more of a clear head that allows me to kind of pay attention to the details of it and sort of what to notate in case we do get a season 3 to kind of improve it and make it even more fantastic.
Yeah, see? So you're on the ball. Although you're always fantastic. You just don't quite know that yet.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But I can think of about 9 or 10 people who would think the very opposite.
All right, how about... that's my personal opinion. How about we just leave it at you're always fantastic at the readings and that type of stuff. Will you at least agree with that?
Yeah. A much smaller population would have disagreed. So that's perfect. I think that works great. Right.
I still stand by my original statement, but we'll tone it down a little bit. Yeah.
I'll take it. Thank you, lady.
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, the 3rd episode would have already aired, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who's in that 3rd episode.
Oh, you know nothing.
I know nothing. I thought this last episode that we did, this episode 2, was going to be the last episode in the season just because of the amount of EVPs and the tapping and the everything that we captured beautifully. I thought surely they'll wait to the last episode to air it, but they didn't. So I'm not really sure. I think one of the next episodes is about, struggling with your own psychic gifts, or maybe it's a young lady who was involved with a man who was addicted to crystal meth, and she's trying to have this relationship with a drug addict. Yeah, big stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. For everybody involved, it's a minefield is what it is. It's a minefield. Yeah. Yeah, so there's no matter what episode it is, it's still going to be fantastic because that's the great thing about what we did. And we filmed all 9 episodes in less than 36 hours.
Wow. So, you must have slept for days.
Well, I tell you that in between filming, my assistant, Kim Ford Johnson, Mama Kim, everybody knows Mama Kim, we traveled a lot and did a lot of really great videos. Mama Kim, while this was being filmed, she would feed us, me and Nick and Elizabeth and the guests and their friends, but she would also kind of hold my hand and kind of push me. We always make this joke that she's the one that puts the fire under the chicken's foot and makes the chicken dance.
Yeah.
So she's always lighting that fire, I say. And then there was a couple of times when she had to, hold my hand while I was crying, like in that last episode that we watched, episode 2. I just sobbed like a baby, and it was the first time I ever cried on camera. Anyway, it takes a huge toll. I think when it was over, when the filming was over, shortly after, my husband at that time decided to tell me that he'd like to have a divorce, and it went really, really downhill from there. Until it started going uphill,
right?
In a beautiful way.
Yes, that's what they say. When one door closes, another one opens, right?
Yeah, or sometimes it's like a window. It's not always a door, but I'm happy regardless. If I can wiggle my big butt through it, then I'm going. You know?
That's what I always say.
Yeah.
So you mentioned EVPs and tapping. For anybody that hasn't watched yet, is each episode the same? Because you're saying you got EVPs and tapping during it. Does that happen all the time?
Well, for at least the last 2 episodes that I've seen, there's some of it that I don't see because I've never seen the episodes. Elizabeth's explained to me that it happens often. I remember the early days when she was editing it. She sent me a text message and she said, "Oh my goodness, this woman's dad just screamed. If I had only had help into your microphone." And she said, "You were the only person that I was the only person who heard it." And it was insane. We do in the second episode get a lot of tapping. I know that we got tapping in the most interesting way right as soon as I'm asking for confirmation of what I just said in episode 1. And I think from there on out, the thing that happened the most was the temperature fluctuations.
Oh, wow.
We were filming in a castle, with rock walls and really solid construction. And I mean, you can see that from even watching the trailer. It was a massive, huge castle. And we were in a turret, which was extended out to a boundary gate. So there was like no bleather. It was hard to even get up there because you had to go through security guards to get to it. So, I think the thing that will be most interesting from this point forward is also the temperature fluctuations. There were some times that the energy was so intense I had to stop filming just because I couldn't breathe. I was sweating and I was gasping for air just because it was just so heavy. And then 1 minute later, it would be just like ice. Like you could ask Mama Kim or Elizabeth, anybody. But, side note, as something different that I'd like to add to that statement. When Elizabeth stayed in the castle by herself, and I went in the next day to see her because we were finishing up the last, I think, 4 episodes. And she herself had changed. There was something odd about her character, and I could smell smoke. And I felt the presence of this man. And I was saying this to her. She said, "That's so bizarre because I'm feeling a really masculine energy." So everything that happened, even while the cameras were not rolling, was beyond the norm. It was all paranormal, totally beyond paranormal, very bizarre.
But cool.
Yeah, very, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So for anybody out there, if that 1 or 2 or 3 people, if he could slap meet people for all these compliments, he probably would. For anybody out there that might not know what tarot is, do you want to explain that and how yours works? Because everybody does it a little different.
Thank God everyone does it different because I don't know. There's been some people that I've trained to do it. They have their own sort of vibe that they do it their way. There are other people who got a couple of readings from me, apparently took notes and just started doing exactly what I do. Thank God I didn't instruct them on what spreads I was using because I make a lot of the spreads by myself. Anyway, so tarot cards are basically a practice of cartomancy where you can contact those who are living on the other side. You can answer questions, yes or no, and open-ended. You can help people see themselves, their situations clearly, and help them change their lives. Now, tarot cards, themselves, there are 78 cards in a deck. There are 22 that are what they call major arcana cards, and there are 56, I think I did the math right, 56 minor arcana. The difference being that major are about big, huge situations in your life. Court, divorce, death, rebirth, birth. All these major life, complete bankruptcy, complete failure, all these things are in the major arcana. And then the minor arcana are still everyday, moment-to-moment circumstances, depression, anxiety, stress, joy, happiness, love, all of the good stuff and all the bad stuff. Every circumstance and every situation exists in 78 cards if you know how to read them properly. And so what happens is I always say, I'm not here to be a circus trick or a party favor. What do you want to talk about? People ask me questions. I shuffle the deck. I lay the cards out. I make sure that I'm doing exactly what they want me to. I always say, stop me if I'm wrong. Like, just let me keep going. But if I'm wrong, stop me. Make sure I'm helping you. Don't waste your money. And then I go through every card, and then I say, okay, I understand the situation. Let's shuffle the deck and find out how we can make it better. So at that point, we reshuffle the deck and we give them tons of great advice. And then I also do forecast spreads for them so that between the time they finish that reading and the next time I see them, they have support Everybody takes notes, everybody journals because it's an actual journey you go on. And if you do it while taking the advice given, it can radically change your life. And lots of people don't participate because they think, oh, it's evil and it's wrong and this, that, and the other thing. But I really encourage them for that reason to watch Tarot Date, because you will see that there's no evil in it. That there's no evil. Of course, everything has a potential to be used for negative or positive. Look at where we're at right now. Voting itself is used for evil and good doing, and everything's used for right or wrong these days. Well, it always has been that way. Now it's just a little bit worse. But the cards, the way that I use them, which is why I say know your reader, because it's very important that they're doing everything they can to keep you and themselves safe, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all the good things. So, it's a very long-winded way of saying that it's reading these cards in a way that helps you see yourself and your situations clearly.
We've talked about this before, but just in case anybody missed that episode, which if you guys missed the episode, go back. It was either season 1 or 2. We had so much fun in that episode. Do you psychically read the cards? Do you consider yourself a psychic medium?
I do, yeah, I do. But I use the cards as a checkpoint.
Okay.
Also, I use the cards because if you read, if you're psychically reading them, you'll know which elements apply to the situation, which ones don't. Yeah. And you'll also know exactly how it'll all play out based on what your gut is saying and what my spirit guide is saying, or perhaps what their spirit guide is saying, which is really cool. So, yeah, I do that. I consider myself a medium in that I have helped, I don't know how many people how many spirits who have passed away into nirvana or hell, sometimes people who have gone through wonderful, amazing things, and people who have in the afterlife not gone through so much of the greatness. I have been a conduit, a medium to their family to help them and to express sometimes gratitude and other times apology or sometimes just love. So I use the cards in that way in a mediumship reading to make sure that I know that I'm okay and that I'm safe, because sometimes spirits try to come to. One lady was wanting a spirit reading, and she didn't tell me this, but she was sitting in a graveyard while we were trying to read, and I kept trying to nail it down, and I kept trying to zoom in on who she wanted to speak to, which was her father, and I couldn't do it. And finally, I said to her after 20 minutes of it, I said, look, I'm done. I can't. There's all this information is accurate towards some spirit that is in your life or in your world. And she said, oh, I'm in a graveyard. I said, well, can we maybe not do that? Can you maybe go home? I'll call you tomorrow. We'll try to reach your dad then, because right now what's happening is not okay, and I'm not down with it. And the cards are really great about helping you sort through the correct information. And also, if there's a spirit that's trying to convince you that they are someone else or that they are something else, the cards usually have a really great way of clearing that up. So if I draw certain cards in certain ways, I always say, well, no, we're done with that. We're not doing any of that. Yeah, because I have no desire to talk to, or to open myself up to negative influences in life and the universe. There's just too many, and they're way too serious.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
If somebody wants a tarot reading for the first time, do you think it should be a psychic medium that's doing it? Because some tarot readers aren't psychic mediums, and they're just reading the card.
No, I think I think that you got to trust that the universe is putting these people in your life for some reason. If you have, or beyond that, maybe really do your research, because if you want someone just to read cards, anybody who's reading cards can do that for you. Right. If you want somebody who's going to do it as a lighthearted thing, well, find someone who does it as a lighthearted thing, and don't expect a great epiphany or some kind of wonderful revelation of some kind. Conversely, if you want to do something with someone who will read these cards and shake and rattle your life in a positive way and help you refocus or redirect or cope or heal, you need to find somebody like me, somebody that does what I do.
Right. because you connect not just to the card, you're not just reading it, you're connecting to actual energy.
Yeah, and I mean, I find it hard to say the word spirits because sometimes they get in your energy. These people who've passed away, and they're just as real as anything else. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you see them and hear them, sometimes you only hear them, sometimes it's knocking and tapping, and sometimes it's door handles jiggling. Like lots of things happen, and it's a really intense situation. But I encourage everyone to have a list of questions that they want answered. I don't believe that you should go on your first time and just sort of open yourself up. I think that you should have a list of questions you need answered. That way, one, you're not paying for time you don't use, and two, you stay on point and focused. If you're going to somebody who's really, really good. Again, if you want to just sit with your friend Janet, who happened to have bought a tarot deck at the supermarket, I mean, take it very lightly. Don't put your whole marriage on the line for it, and just try to keep a good sense of humor otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. So, in general and for season 2, has anything ever followed you home? Like, has the spirit ever followed you home after reading and been like, I wasn't done yet.
There's one or two that will sometimes peek up, but I know who they are and I'm okay with it. One is a friend of mine. Her name's Kim Spillman. Her mother will sometimes pop up in the most bizarre circumstances. And it's almost like a check-in that she does. Or sometimes I'll be really, really low, and then out of nowhere I hear some kind of Patsy Cline song that manages to give me some kind of advice or clarity. And I always ask, and say, is this you? And she'll always say, yeah, it's me. And there's nothing more than that. When I'm doing, and I allow that. There's nothing really that if I make a point to not allow a certain energy to follow me or to be with me, it doesn't come. And I'll tell you a really interesting story about that. I was doing a monthly event called the Mystical Paranormal Fair in Lexington, and I went in and I took care of my little room beautifully, and I made it my home for once a month. That room was mine, and I wanted all negative energies gone. I wanted everything to be very protected. And when I pray for protection, I mean I really go for the gold to get that protection because I want to keep myself and everybody safe. While I was gone one day having gallbladder surgery, a couple of, I will put them quotation marks around that, as some paranormal investigators, and again I use that term loosely, went into the room because they're like, oh, I bet Ken Boggle's booth has some fantastic energy in it. I bet Ken Boggle's booth's great. They went in there and they caught a voice saying, get out. Get out. And it is simply because when I pray for protection, I'm saying keep all ridiculousness out of my way because I don't have the energy to entertain it and try to do good work. So not a whole lot gets to me. Also, when I was younger, I had a horrific experience. I had a couple of horrific experiences that made me understand how important it was to not carry things like that with you. Now, as we were saying earlier, I carry the weight of if your heart is broken. I carry the weight of if you're starving. I carry the weight of if you're going through some kind of loss of a loved one. I keep with me because although I try to break free of it, I still think, I want to check in on people. I want to make sure they're okay. I don't mind taking a little bit of their burden sometimes. Just so they can feel better. And I then release it. But no, not has there ever been a situation since I was 16 years old where something got a hold of me that I didn't particularly care for. It was at 16 that I had the first really scary something's here and it really should not be situation. And I don't know if I've ever told you that story. I think I've only told it once in an interview before, but it was intense.
No, I don't think I've heard it, so...
Yeah.
Was it something you had to learn how to do? Or did you just know how to do? Or did you have to set out to learn?
Well, my grandmother helped me tremendously in that. And I was sort of doing it before she taught me how. I think at this point I was like 7, almost 8 years old. And we had moved into this house that's haunted. And it's horribly haunted. I mean, everybody who's lived in that house has either died in it, got thrown out of it, physically fought in it. no amount of money would ever stay in the house. It was always leaking from like a sieve from all over the different directions. It was terrible. And I would sit there and watch people walk by my bedroom door, these entities. One, I remember he would drag his leg. And then as I was laying there as a child, really a baby, 7 and 8 years old, it's a young baby. I was laying there in tears, didn't know what to do. And I kept praying and I kept praying. And I sort of imagined this white light all over me, and I sort of pushed it beyond me and beyond my bed to encapsulate me in a great big bubble of white light. And then I would do my evening prayers, and I would try to fall asleep just before I said amen. If only I could keep God with me long enough for me to say amen in the sleep, I was happy. I was explaining that to my grandmother as she was talking to me about how to use my gift, and she said, well, that's exactly what you have to do. You have got to, she said it just like this, you have to ask the white light of the Holy Spirit to surround you, and you have to ask this protective force to surround you. Years into training and things like this, she explained what the different colors of auras meant, and she taught me how to kind of evoke hot pink for love, and how to cover myself in gold aura energy to contact with cosmic wisdom. And also the white spirits of protection. And here's a funny story. I was actually going to Scarefest, and they had an aura picture photo thing. I'd never done it before. And I had just done my morning meditation. So I had just prepared for the day by doing all that, energy work. And they took my photo, and I have it. It's somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is, but anyway, it's someplace. And in that photo, you can see there's above my head a huge crown of gold, and there is hot pink fuchsia all the way around me, because that's my unconditional love. And then the guy who took the picture said, I really can't count exactly how many protective entities there are here, because they show up as white splotches. And the white splotches were spirits, angels, and ancestors. It was just crazy how many splotches of white there were. It was beautiful. So obviously the meditation worked, and it was confirmed absolutely perfectly by this thing. So yeah, I attribute a lot of that protective power to her, because she's the one that said, yeah, you're doing it right, but here we got to kind of kick it up, because you're different, you're special, and you're going to have to knock it up a little bit, because you have to take stronger steps, basically.
So that was at 7 or 8. When did you know that you were seeing these things? Like, when did you ever remember a time when you didn't?
I never remember a time I wasn't talking to someone else while I was alone.
Yep.
I never remember a time. How creepy it had to have been for my mother. Can you imagine how creepy it is? I mean, that's bizarre behavior. I would sit and I would talk, and it wasn't like just talking. I was having intense conversations. I remember one time she said I climbed up out of the bed in my stone cold sleep, and I was reaching toward the ceiling, and I was talking to what was reaching down to me. And she put me right back in bed and said, okay, now we're going to pray a little bit, and we'll go back to sleep and all these things. So, no, I don't remember a time that I wasn't different. I don't remember a time at all. But that's the first time anybody's ever asked me that question, Boo. Like, that's the first time.
I think it's important, because I don't want people, or I don't know how to word it, but this has been a lifelong journey. You're not somebody that just started up. And, this has been a lifelong journey of learning, and a lifelong journey of hard work. So
absolutely, a lot hard lessons. Yeah. Scary moments. Oh, I was telling that story to my sister the other day, and we just cried. And she said, she was crying. She said, I had no idea that was happening. And then my mother said, I knew it was happening. I watched my mother is very country, and I love her because I'm country too, but she said, I watched the trim that was nailed down come pop off the wall and slide down the banisters in that house. And my step-great aunt, I think is what you would call her, my stepfather's mother. I think that's like step-great aunt, whatever the hell. Anyway,
your stepfather's mother?
Stepfather's grandmother. Stepfather's aunt, sorry.
Yes.
She was living with us. And she passed away in the house. Days before she passed away, I was there, and I felt this dark energy all over the place. And I said, Aunt Wilma, I love you. I wish you all the best in the world. She was a hardcore atheist. I said, I will pray for you, and I hope nothing but comfort, peace, and rest for you. And shortly after I left the room, when I left the room, I felt the negative energy, and shortly after that, I felt the disconnect between me and the energy, so I could breathe, and it was all okay. But my sister was telling me that she walked in later that evening, and she said to Aunt Wilma, are you okay? And she said, no, you've got to get that shadow out of here. And she called it by name. I don't know what the name was, but she said he's all in black, and he's come to get me, and I do not want to go with him. So
did she call it the Grim Reaper, or did she call it a different name?
She called it by some name. I think I don't remember exactly what the name was, and I'd have to ask my sister about it, or my mother. But my stepdad's mother, yes, she knew. She knew it was horrible. And my mother, as a side note, she also experienced things in the house like that, and terrible, awful things that had happened. So yeah, my childhood was covered with little circumstances like that just weren't like everybody else's childhood. So it's not just like something that we popped up and decided to open shop. It was that, the whole family even shared dreams. And we'd be miles and miles apart from each other in various different areas, and we would share the same dream. My sisters and I, my two sisters and myself.
Now you mentioned your grandmother has abilities.
Yeah, she's no longer with us, bless her.
Oh.
But so a lot of people would read coffee grounds and that they would drink a cup of coffee back in the day, and there would be coffee grounds or tea leaves. They read them and things like that. My grandmother didn't. My grandmother would crack an egg in a glass half full of water.
I love the story. Sorry.
Candle.
Yeah.
No, and that's what she would do. And then in the mornings, around 4:00 in the morning, she'd pop out of bed and she'd make a pot of coffee for the day. And then she'd take the filter out, lay it down on top of a newspaper so that the grounds fell out. She'd smear it, and she'd sit over top of it and just read through the coffee grounds, read through whatever information was there for her. And it was, she would say, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. And then she'd wad it all up, throw it in the trash, smoke the rest of it, just smoke her cigarettes, get up and make biscuits and gravy. Granny didn't play. She had no time for foolishness. But, yeah, she was extremely gifted. And one day, which is the day I realized that my father really, really wasn't going to be happy if he ever found out that Granny was helping me. She was saying that she was reading horoscopes in the National Enquirer, and she read something very disturbing one day in one of the horoscopes that she was reading, and she said that this great hand put itself in front of the page, and she couldn't see beyond the hand, which she was just telling the story like there was a great big hand that covered the whole page, and I couldn't see through it, and I couldn't see around it, and so now I'm just not reading that anymore. And my father then buzzed, what a devil-worshipping rag of trash that is, and you'll burn in hell. Don't talk about that in front of these babies. Nobody wants to hear your craziness. And well, I mean, he was a horrible man. Thank God that he's no longer around, but he's still alive, but I don't have to deal with him. So thank God for big blessings. And Granny was terrified of him. We were all scared of him. He was verbally and physically abusive, and so we kept it very quiet from that point forward. But yeah, Granny, if it wasn't for her, I certainly wouldn't be Ken Boggle right now.
I remember you spoke very highly of her.
She's amazing.
And she was kind of your mentor. Is that the right word?
Yeah, and she's a huge part of my personality. We all sort of nature or nurture, and she nurtured me quite a bit in my youth, and into my early adult age, she radically changed. What would you say? She I took a lot of who I am from her, and I miss her every day.
It's good that she nurtured you because, like you spoke of your father, you didn't learn things from your dad because you're a good person, so thank God for your grandmother.
Yeah, and the tarot helped me quite a bit dealing with my father. The tarot helped me quite a bit in that I could recognize who he was through cards better than I could recognize who he was face to face. And for that, it made it easier for me to know how to deal with him or know how to kind of survive a situation. I remember psychically hearing in the back of my head, the day that he found out I was gay, and he told me he was going to beat the gay out of me. That's not exactly the words he used, but I'm trying to keep it clean. I immediately heard my spirit guide in the back of my head say, "Shut your mouth. Don't say another word. You have got to get through today." And he came back into a room and he said, he had spoke to God, and God told him that he needed to beat me and to beat the gay out of me. And he said, "I'm going to go back into my room and ask God to change his mind so that so I don't have to do this." And my spirit guide said, "You're in trouble. You're in trouble." And thankfully, he came back in and he said, "We're going to go ahead and eat," which he forced me to Big Mac. To this day, I hate Big Macs. And I slept in the clothes I had that day, and I woke up the next day, and my spirit guide said, "Play pretty, go to school. When you get to school, get a lawyer, call child services. You have got to be an adult, and you got to do it right now." I was 15. And so Child Protective Services and all that got involved, and I was shortly thereafter voluntarily emancipated, and I grew up, from that point for 15 years old, I was on my own. Job, school, car, learned my partner at that time, his name was Josh, he taught me how to drive, got me my first tattoo, and it was all because of listening to that gut intuition, that spirit guide saying, this is how you're going to have to play it with him because he's a psychopath, So yeah, those kinds of experiences are bountiful in my history. Yeah.
It not only saved you, but that part of you makes you who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine if you didn't have a spirit guide? At that point, your life could be totally different.
Yeah, no, I really do. I think like had I not been blessed in this way, I would have made a lot more mistakes. I think that being blessed in this way made me able to communicate with people by reading them as I'm communicating with them, and not just in the way that human beings naturally do, because we're always checking each other's inflections and movements and social cues. But on a deeper energetic level, this allowed me to become a great teacher. It allowed me to, as I have students that see me for psychic development, it made me a great teacher, and that I used to do seminars, and I'm going to start doing that again. I have one coming up on October 3rd with Odyssey Paranormal that I'm doing online. And then also it made me a great a friend, a wonderful friend. And I'm able to speak with my girlfriends and my buddies in a way that's really meaningful and deep, because not only do I hear their issue, I'm feeling their issue, and I'm seeing what I need to do to help them through it, And
that's what I mean right there. You just summed up why I always call you an amazing soul, because you're not just talking the talk. You actually feel what you say. You know what I mean? You're not faking it. This is you're real. You are 100% real.
It's my life, you know. That's just the way my life is, and that's okay. Maybe your life isn't the same as mine, and that's all right too.
So back to the shared dreams. Did you say it was your sister and your mother that you guys shared the dreams?
So I have my sister Elizabeth, who lives in Arizona. We have the same father, different mother. Okay, so I don't know that she ever uses a spiritual gift. I don't know how she feels about it. Elizabeth and I rarely talk, which is a really big bummer to me. However, my sister Raylan and my sister Mary Helen, all three of us have shared visions. All three of us shared dreams. All three of us experienced a shadow person at the same time in different areas. We actually, one day, my sisters and I were sitting in the living room, and we were living in the house I was just telling you about, this horrible house. And my mother's doppelganger came down the hallway, turned on the bathroom light, turned on the bathroom vent, shut the door. And we all watched it happen, all three of us. And We got up hoping that she would eventually come out because we thought she'd missed work so we could go to the pool that day. And we got knocked on the door. We couldn't hear anybody. The fan was on, the light was on, the door was shut. We knocked, Mom, nothing. And we went out to the front window to check and make sure the car was there because we knew we just saw her. All three of us did. Car was gone. She was at work. She had never went down that hallway, but we knew that we could tell you exactly what she had in her hands as she was shutting the door and coming down the hallway. We knew everything. It was a very bizarre thing, but it's the perfect example about how the three of us kids, although we look nothing alike, we share some really interesting psychic gifts. All three of us do.
Do you think it's hereditary? Or do you just think it's chance at all?
No, I think it's a hereditary trait. I think it's hereditary because I don't know if science has proved this yet, but I don't really care. I don't care because I feel it like this is accurate. I think that the brain of an intuitive person is somewhat structurally different. It's structurally different. I think that the what do you say that the structure of the brain is somewhat altered than what we'll call a quote normal non-intuitive brain, which that doesn't exist anyway. I think that then further development, training, meditation alters the structure of the brain even further. I think that it does start with a hereditary trait. Also, I think sometimes it does start with outside influences that can trigger this to happen. I think that some people are sometimes under spiritual war where they illustrate or they exhibit certain traits and things of psychic knowledge and psychic gifts. But for the most part, I think it's hereditary.
Yeah. Back to the different brain thing, how it works, made me think of, you know who Tyler Henry is?
The
Hollywood medium.
Yeah. Little blonde kid.
Yeah.
Cute.
Very cute kid.
Yeah.
I saw Dr. Drew Paninsky, I think is his last name, actually did a brain scan of him before and during when he was reading or whatever, and different, and even Dr. Drew, who was skeptical, was like, this definitely showed up different. Yeah.
Different areas of the brain fire as opposed to when you're not using it.
That's what I was trying to say. Yes.
And a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist." And you can't get feelings about things that aren't there. Nothing's there. And I always say to them, "Have you ever been in a room in the dark and knew someone else was in the room with you, and when the lights came on, or something else happened, or that you walked into your house and you knew someone else was in there?" Things happen to the human body. The hair raises up. You begin to panic. You begin to sweat. Your heart rate increases, or some people have bodily functions, in those times. It's because we have been evolved to grow up back way back when we were all in the bush trying to survive from actual bears and lions and all the things that human beings had to kind of go through in our development towards society. That we all had that special intuition because it's what kept us alive. It was a consciousness that it defines us. Animals express it. Animals know you're a bad person from the get-go. Yep. They know from the get-go. I think some families it's a inherited trait that just flows through them. It's how their genetics are made up. I think that anybody is intuitive enough to read tarot cards. I think anybody's intuitive enough if they develop it with a proper structured and a proper mentor. They can live their lives as a functioning psychic and help not only themselves but the people around them. I think it's obviously a genetic thing, but I think it is definitely altered. You can alter it, structure it, and develop it.
So you think everybody has a little bit of it?
Absolutely.
And they just they can build on it.
Yeah, either they develop it or they don't. Yeah. Now, what's bizarre is that you have a lot of heterosexual men that they're the number one skeptic. They're the number one skeptic, and that's okay. We need skeptics. That way we can continuously fight to prove life after death even better. We need those skeptics. Thank you. We appreciate you. but they are some of the most intuitive people I know. These people who say, "Oh, it doesn't exist," they are some of the most intuitive people I know. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
How can you have this much secret knowledge and this much clarity and this much vision and not have any idea that that's what you're doing? And they say, "Oh, well, it just came out of my gut." Well, then that gut's your psychic knowledge or your spirit guide talking, you know? So, yeah, I think everybody's got some lick of it. Some lick is what my granny would say. You got a lick of it.
Yeah, I think, because, again, I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium in any way, but intuitive, I think that's different than a psychic. Because we've all been there when you think of somebody and the phone rings and it's them calling. Or you go to walk down a street and you just get that bad feeling and something happens. Or, you know, so I think intuitiveness, is that the word? Is that
intuition, yeah.
Is a little bit different than that. So that's why I always like picking your brain on this. Like, is it everybody and is it, how do I word this right? If you had grown up with just your father, say, right, and you didn't have the outside help to learn how to do things, do you think this would have went away? Do you think you think it would have always been there, just not as you wouldn't, might not be as far?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally do, because I think that this was my destiny. Okay, so I don't know if destiny is the word. I think maybe fate.
Okay.
Fate. This was my fate. That because it's not all good. There's a lot of bad that goes with doing what I do and having to live with what you have to live with. You know, I just said that a million examples just went through my head, but had I only had him, I would probably be in a mental hospital, because I would have hated myself for not only being gay, I would have hated myself for also having a psychic gift, and I would have judged myself and shamed myself that I probably would have fallen into some kind of a possession or at least an oppression state spiritually, because I think that shame and self-hatred are the seeds that negative influences and demonic forces use to plant their seed of depression and oppression and possession. I think in their manifestation and all these things, I think that those are the seeds of it. So I think I either would have been I would have been in a mental hospital if I had only lived with my father. I certainly would have made it to the actual hospital, because he'd have beat me to death, you know, because I just exhibited way too many of these traits, way too many.
Right.
And it was always going to come out one way or the other. So it would have been a much harder road, much harder.
Right. I guess that was the wrong example to use, but you know, bringing up your father. But,
no, but it's okay. It's because that's why I talk so freely about it, is because there are people who are listening or will listen or will watch one of these interviews that I do, and they say, "Oh my God, that's my dad," you know, or they're a kid and they say, "Oh, thank God someone else lived through it, so now I know how to get through it. Let me suffer so you don't have to." I'm down with that.
Me too.
That's fine.
I always say, if I help, like we said a little while ago, if it helps one person, why not talk about it more?
Amen. Absolutely.
You know, because somebody could be listening that is ready to give up, and we're here telling them there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Not that tunnel, people. There's good about to happen. Just hang on a little bit longer. Yeah,
it will come.
Yep.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm glad you're close enough to me that you can ask me those kinds of questions, because I appreciate it. Let's help people who are maybe going through something or have already been through it and don't know how to bring closure to it. I love that idea.
Well, Ken, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time, discussing this stuff with me, and just you as a person.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I love you. You know that, though.
I do. I said to you when I said, okay, look, in private DM message, I'm going to tell the people what we were really saying to each other. I said, hey, look, I want to start doing some podcasts again. You've always been so kind to me. And I follow every one of those accounts. Buzz Paranormal Radio.
Yep.
I'm following every one of those accounts. I like every single one that you ever post, because I believe in what you're doing and I believe in you as a person. And all the topics that you bring up, some of them I'm like, oh, snap, that's going to be a good one. Or, oh, I can't forget to listen to that. Or, you know, or, oh, what great imagery, because the memes are beautiful. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I'm really knocked out that you could have me here. anytime that I'm going to do something big, I hope that we can get together and do that.
Anytime. Any
Beautiful.
single time.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I love, you make me feel good. You really do. You make me feel good.
Thanks.
Before I forget to ask, you want to tell people where they can find you, your social media?
Oh, yeah. Because I'm not doing a website anymore. I'm not paying someone to go through my emails anymore and find people that want read. What I'm doing now is, if you want a reading, go to facebook.com/Ken Boggle. Add me as a friend. Send me a message on Messenger. Go to Instagram at Ken Boggle or Twitter at Ken Boggle and send me a direct message. I'm on everything now. I'm even on that daggone TikTok, which I don't know about.
I haven't done it yet. My kids love it, but I haven't.
I'm still. I've got it, and it's everything. Just go to Ken Boggle, Boggle, and in the meantime, get yourself a VidiSpace subscription, or get yourself over to VidiSpace and purchase episodes of Tarot Date, because they are amazing, so good.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear. Have a good night.